Lesson 1, Premiere Pro, 7 simple steps to get you up and running in less than 20 minutes. Step 1, download Premiere Pro. First, download and install Creative Cloud. Once Creative Cloud is installed, select Creative Cloud, select Premiere, click Download or Try for the trial version. My button here says Update because I already have it installed. Step 2, creating the right folders. Before we even open up Premiere Pro, I'll give you a fast tutorial on creating folders and where to put your files. For a typical editing project, you are probably going to have what seems like countless videos, audio, graphics, and other files that you'll need. An organized project will save you hours and just make you more efficient in the long run. You definitely won't always use all these folders, but if you create these 9 subfolders, you'll be set for most future editing projects. You'll also remember where files are in old or archived projects. Very handy when working with multiple editors and producers. Always keep your files organized. Find a location for your folders, preferably an external drive if your operating system drive is small. Pause the video now and create these folders. Simply right or control click, create new folder, type in your project name, duplicate folders accordingly. Rename each folder. Select, right-click all folders, create a new master folder that the selected subfolders will go in. You'll be happy to know that there are scripts that can automatically generate folders for each of your new projects. More on that in episode 2. The following are the folders explained in detail. Master Project folder. This is where your subfolders will go in. Audio subfolder. Put your music files in this folder if you have any music files. Fonts subfolder. If you have any unique fonts that you're using, put them in this folder. Graphics subfolder. Put any graphics files in this folder if you are using Photoshop or Illustrator graphics. Media subfolder. This is where you'll place all your media video files and your media audio files from your shoot. .mp4s and .movs and a variety of different formats of video. Make sure that you have a backup of the media files on another drive before you start editing. Paperwork subfolder. If you have a script or notes or feedback or instructions, put them in this folder. PDFs, Word files, Excel files, and such. Previews subfolder. This folder will be for when you're exporting previews for clients. Projects subfolder. This is where all the magic happens. This is where you'll save your actual editing project file, a .prproj file that has all the editable timelines in it for your project. We'll create that in a few seconds from now. SFX subfolder. If you are working with someone who gives you an animated file or some special effects, this is the folder that you'll put those files in. Stills subfolder, a very useful folder. This stills folder will be where, you guessed it, you put your still images. If you have any to use for your editing project, put them here. Some people might think it's tedious to create these folders, but with just a few minutes of organization, you'll actually create a better workflow, more ease, and more efficiency. Oops, one more audio file. You know where that goes. Step 3, open up Premiere Pro. Open up Premiere Pro, click the New Project button, or on the upper left menu button, click File, New Project. Then click on the top of the New Project panel to title your project file. Then click Browse to navigate to, you guessed it, Projects subfolder that we just created. You have 3 tabs below the Location and Browse button: General, Scratch Disks, and Ingest Settings. Click on Scratch Disks. We will go into these in more detail in the episode 2 video, but for now, Captured Video. Keep same as project. Captured Audio. Keep same as project. Video Previews. Navigate to an external drive or any drive with ample space. This will create new render folders that are in essence temporary and can be purged from time to time. Audio Previews. Do the same as you did with video previews. Project Autosave. You can leave this as same as project. but the ideal thing would be to navigate to either a drive that is other than your project drive, or even better, to a Dropbox folder so that your auto saves will be backed up and available if the main project drive should fail. CC libraries, same as project. Motion graphics template media, keep same as project. Click OK. Step 4. Layout and creating a project. There are many different layouts in Premiere Pro, but we'll start with this one. Windows, Workspace, All Panels. If your windows get lost or you can't find anything, then reset with Windows, Workspace, Reset to saved layout. Top left, Source Viewer. On the top left, we have the Source Viewer. As you can see, we have many more tabs right beside it, but for now, just select Source Viewer. This is the window that shows the source of the footage you import into Premiere, and where you'll click your ins and outs or edits to drag into the timeline. Middle right, Program Viewer. The next window over is the Program Viewer. This window will show you what is in the timeline, basically the movie that you will be piecing together. Again, we will just use this window for now. Bottom left project window. This is where you'll import your files for editing. To import, simply drag a folder from your project subfolders into this project window. This will give you your files that you intend on editing. Alternatively, create a bin by clicking on the bin icon and name it Media for video, Audio for music, and so on. Then select File, Import, or right-click Import to import files. To utilize this window, we will create a sequence file. Click New Sequence button, or right-click New Item, Sequence, or go to File, New Sequence. Depending on what kind of footage you shot, there are many different formats that you can choose from. Even if you don't know the format that you shot, Premiere can actually adjust the first clip that you drag in order to make it the right format. We'll show you how. Select DV, NTSC, or any format to start. Name the sequence and then click OK. Your sequence will show up in the project bin as well as in the timeline window. Make sure your V1 and A1 buttons are selected. Far right columns. There are many columns on this side. The ones that we'll touch base on shortly will be Effects, Color. In video number 2, we will go further into the details of all of these panels. Step 5. Editing. Ins and outs and overwriting. Once your footage is imported, double-click to select a file, drag, press the spacebar, or press the play button to find where you want your clip to start. Press Mark In and Mark Out to find out where you want your clip to end and start. Drag further to adjust more. Then drag the clip from the source viewer or the project folder to the timeline, or click the Overwrite button. This will bring the footage into your new sequence or timeline. It may also give you a clip mismatch warning. If you want your sequence to be the same size and frame rate as the clip you drag in, then click Change Sequence Settings. You generally want your sequence to reflect the most common size of the footage you are using, or the size that you want to deliver at. For example, scroll in your columns to the Video Info column, and you will have some clips at HD 1080p 2398 and some at 720p. Then you'll probably want your sequence to be at 1080p. Repeat the previous steps to start creating your masterpiece. Once your clips are in the timeline, then you are able to trim and cut them via the various tools and keyboard shortcuts. Customizable key commands and keyboard shortcuts are a great way to speed up editing. For now, we'll stick with the basics. Scaling footage. Sometimes you'll drag a clip or an image into the timeline and it will be too big or too small. In this case, select the clip, hover your pointer to Effects Controls in the upper left window, select Scale, and slide up and down or type in a new number to adjust. Alternatively, you can select the clip or clips, right or control click, and select Set to Frame Size. First, if you're unfamiliar with keyboard layouts, we'll set it this way to start. Navigate to Premiere Pro Keyboard Shortcuts, Keyboard Layout Preset, Final Cut Pro 7.0. Select the main selection tool. Hover over the edge of the clip until the pointer changes its icon. When it changes to the square bracket with arrow, you'll be able to further trim the clip to your liking. To move the clip, simply drag to your liking. You'll notice that the clip may snap or not snap to the next clip. If you want to snap or not snap, simply select or deselect the magnet icon to the top left of the sequence window. You will notice with snapping on, it is easy to align clips and butt up against each other. With snapping off, you can move clips more subtly. To zoom in, simply select Command minus or plus, or drag the bottom scale selector in the sequence window. To fade a clip, place the pointer to the left of the timeline in between the video tracks. Your pointer will change to a double horizontal line with arrows. Drag the video track so it enlarges in width. Now you will see a line in the middle of the video track. If not, then Control or right-click and select Show Video Keyframes. Pull this line up and down to increase or decrease the opacity. To add a fade, do one of two things. Either Command-click the video keyframe line to make 2 keyframes, then drag 1 keyframe down to gradually fade. Control-click to delete and reset. Or hover over the edge of the clip until you see the square bracket with arrow and Control or right-click and select Apply Default Transition. This will apply a fade. Select and delete to delete if needed. To unlink or mute the audio. From the video, all you need to do is select the clip and then right-click or Control-click Unlink or Link respectively. This will give you the chance to mute the audio. Right-click or Control-click Uncheck Enable to mute the audio or video. Unlinked video and audio also gives you the opportunity to slide or trim the audio separately. To adjust the volume of the audio, hold the pointer to the left of the timeline in between the audio tracks. Your pointer will change to a double horizontal line with arrows. Drag the audio track so it enlarges in width. Now you should see a line in the middle of the audio track. If not, select the wrench tool and select Show Audio Keyframes. Pull this line up or down to increase or decrease the volume. To add a fade, do one of two things. Either Command-click the audio volume line to make 2 keyframes and then drag 1 keyframe down to gradually fade. Control-click to delete and reset. Or hover on the edge of the clip until you see the square bracket with arrow and Control-click or right-click and select Apply Default Transition. Again, to delete the transition, simply select and hit delete. Adding a title. Select the title tool. Click in the program viewer on the top of black or over the top of a clip. Type your text out. To adjust the text, select the text, then navigate to Effects Control, upper left. To adjust font size, font and position, and so on. In the timeline, you can also trim and drag the text layer, just like you did with the video and audio tracks. To delete the title, simply select and delete. Adding music. To add an additional audio track, simply select the audio from the project audio bin on the left. If you forgot to import music, simply drag your selections first to the project bin. Drag the audio to below the clip and adjust and fade accordingly. Step 6. Transitions, Effects, and Color. The effects bin has a multitude of video and audio effects and transitions to utilize in creating your masterpiece. For now, we'll just go through a few. The first one is dip to white dissolve. Have two clips in the timeline butted up together. Make sure there is some edit room or handles on either end in order to utilize the effect correctly. To check for handles, unlink clip, drag above and trim forward to see if there are any handles or not. Select Video Transitions, Dissolve, Dip to White Dissolve. Drag this transition onto the edit point of these two clips. The clips will now flash between one another. Try the same with various transitions and see how they look. To delete the transition, simply select the effect only and delete. Add effect. To add an effect, go to Video Effects Blur and Sharpen, and drag Gaussian Blur onto the clip. You'll see nothing is happening. Simply select the clip, navigate to Effects Controls, upper left, and adjust blurriness. To adjust blurriness over time, select the keyframe icon stopwatch. Drag the playhead down and then adjust blurriness accordingly. To delete keyframes, simply select and hit delete. In video 2, we'll give you a deeper understanding on adjusting the color and exposure of video clips. For this video, we'll show you the bare essentials that you need to know in order to get up and running. Select a clip, select Lumetri scopes, and select the waveform RGB. The waveform will show you the exposure of the clip. Generally, you want the clip to reach the bottom blacks, not dipping below 0, and the uppermost whites not reaching above 100. This will of course vary depending on the shot. If you are shooting a cloudy sky, the waveform most likely won't touch all the way to the black, or a night scene, it won't go all the way up to the white. On the basic corrections section, use the exposure, highlights, shadows, whites and blacks to adjust accordingly. Keep in mind that 0 and 100 on the waveform will guide you not to over or under expose. For saturation and skin tone, select the Vectorscope YUV. The outermost lines on the Vectorscope show oversaturation, and the skin tone line shows correct skin tones. Use the white balance slider to adjust for skin tones and the saturation slider to adjust for saturation, as well as the tint slider. Step 7. Exporting. Now you are finally ready to export your masterpiece. There are hundreds of different formats that you may need to know as you master editing, but for now, we'll do a simple export. A good thing to do before exporting is to duplicate your project. Right-click, duplicate, and name the export V1. Each new version that you edit should ideally be duplicated and named to V2, and so on. This way you are able to backtrack to any earlier edits. With the sequence in the timeline or the project bin selected, select File, Export Media. Select H.264. Select Match Source, Medium, Bitrate, or high or low bitrate depending on the quality that you want to export. Notice below it will estimate the file size of the final export. This will help you gauge whether to make a larger or smaller file if you have specific requirements for file size. Select the output name and navigate to, you guessed it, the previews folder that you created earlier. Click Export. That's it. Once the export is done, then you have your first movie edited and exported with Premiere Pro. Be sure to review this video as many times as needed to get comfortable. Once you're comfortable with these steps, then be sure to watch our upcoming video number 2 for a more in-depth look at these 7 steps to get you fine-tuning your editing skills. That's it. Enjoy.